So he published stuff about Australia that Australia did not want getting out there. And so Australia also hates Julian Assange.
Stella Assange joins us now. Stella, we just heard you say that you're hopeful a breakthrough is close. What makes you think that?
Well, there are a number of indications. For example, the US ambassador to Australia received the parliamentary friends of Julian Assange, and that's the first time that shows that the US is listening and aware of the opinion of the Australian people and its representatives. At the same time, Julian has received for the first time a visit from the High Commissioner of Australia, and I read into that there's a significant change in the Australian government's view of the importance of this case.
So I think what she's saying there is
that shows that the US is listening and aware of the opinion of the.
So I just wanted to hear that again real quick. But I think the point she's making are important. Of course, to me, I know she's trying to be optimistic and everything. To me, it's beyond infuriating that we're at this point after 10 years of torture of this man, one of the greatest journalists this world has ever seen, greatest publishers, never published a single word that was incorrect or wrong. And that we're discussing whether the U.S. is aware that this is bad. Now, I get that these are the things that need to make us hopeful right now. And I really hope she's right. It does seem that, and to me, this is kind of the most hopeful part of it, that Australia actually seems to give a crap for the first time in years that their own citizen is being tortured in a British jail under American pressure. He has absolutely no connection to America. He has very little connection to Britain other than having lived there at various times. But, and yet he's Australian, and Australia cannot get their citizen freed because they haven't cared to until recently. I mean, let's remember that this is part of how even-handed Julian Assange was on what he published. He published articles and information and emails and other forms of information and content revealing what various state governments and corporations were involved in, and that include Australia. So he published stuff about Australia that Australia did not want getting out there. And so Australia also hates Julian Assange in many ways. And, I would have understood if he were like, well, I need Australia to protect me. I need them to have my back, so I'm not going to publish anything about Australia. But he didn't do that. Instead, he published stuff about Australia, Russia, China, the U.S., all of them, UK, largest corporations in the world. He wanted transparency, and that's what he fought for. And anyway, I wanted to bring you this update that she is somewhat hopeful, more hopeful than at least she has been. I interviewed her for an hour back in January, and I asked her similar questions about whether there's some optimism there. But, there's also the side of it, which is that every time we've thought there was optimism, every time we thought there was a reason that Assange should be freed any minute now, they would find a way to stop it, and they would find a way to keep this thing going. And they are really mainly just trying to make an example of him. They do not want people speaking out and speaking the truth. And I think in some ways, sadly, they've succeeded. There is no equivalent to WikiLeaks functioning today. Why not? It should be. Instead, people got to leak crap out on Discord and get caught in 12 seconds by the New York Times and Washington Post. The Washington Post and New York Times worked to help out the whistleblower, out the leaker of the Pentagon, the most recent Pentagon files. So rather than these mainstream media outlets being adversarial to government, they are an arm of the government. They are an arm of the corporate state. They are going after leakers and whistleblowers in the same way that the government would. And that is such an important point to understanding our media. All right. I know it was a short clip, but I still wanted to bring it to you because I think it's important, and it's important for us to keep talking about Julian Assange.